Okay, good morning. The energy sector is undergoing great change at the moment amid net zero targets, geopolitical priorities, and changing regulation. We're here from SmartestEnergy, an asset-light company based in the UK with operations across the globe, including the UK, Australia, and the US. As a utility, we don't own our own assets. We're an asset-light company, and we rely on our people and on data and our systems to build our service offering. We play a key part in enabling customers to navigate volatility, transparency, and the complexities of the energy market. And we'll be exploring today the important role of people, technology, and data that enable us to do this. So, first of all, just to introduce our speakers. So from right to left, Rob Pringle here is going to bring us insights and data, how data is integral to commercial decisions and how we serve our customers. Klaus Weber will bring this to life as an expert behind our trading and algorithms and optimization models and a deeper insight in that area. And Mehul Raval has joined us to give us experience in trading across global commodities and the roles of tech and people to enable that growth. So thank you all for joining. So there are three core pillars that we're going to cover today. Innovation in a changing energy landscape, then trading algorithms and optimization, followed by leveraging data and AI in a people-powered business. So just to set the scene a bit for the first topic, the energy landscape in the UK and the EU is undergoing profound change. I think we can all agree that. And from decarbonisation and electrification to evolving policy and geopolitical pressures, today we're going to explore how innovation is critical to navigating these shifts from grid flexibility and market design to new technologies and more agile ways of working. So, to kick us off, Mehul, I'm going to come to you, please. What I'd like to dig into first is what are the most significant macro energy trends that are shaping the EU and the UK markets today?
Well, the obvious trend, which you've already referred to, is decarbonisation. The impact of intermittent renewable generation is having a significant effect on gas prices and power prices across Europe. And that's creating a lot of spot volatility and a lot of exceptional events, things that were very, very rare in the past are now increasingly common, such as negative pricing, such as very high price spikes. And you're almost seeing a slight decoupling between what's happening in the spot market and what's happening on forward markets, because it's very, very hard to predict the behavior of specific spot prices going forward. That's the obvious macro trend. The other big trend that we're noticing is the interconnectedness of all the markets. So what happens in one market is affecting prices in other markets. Most recently, the polar vortex in North America caused a huge spike in prices in Canada and USA. That actually had a knock-on effect on LNG supplies to the Europe, had a knock-on effect on European gas prices, had a knock-on effect on European power prices. So, to trade gas and power and to optimize assets within this industry and be able to innovate, you have to actually have a pretty global vision.
Thank you. Great. I'm going to come to you next, Rob. Just want to explore a bit about the differences and the similarities within the UK and the EU markets and the landscapes when it comes to innovation, and how the geopolitical and security of supply concerns are influencing the decisions around that progress.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the macro trends I think are pretty identical in terms of what's going on. So to what Mehul said, is the fundamentals in the markets are the same. There's the energy transition going on. There's the drive to electrify, clean up the power supply, then electrify activity. And in terms of the innovation, is that one of the features, particularly of power, is that the how difficult it is to store it, okay, at scale, right? And that means that inevitably it ends up being a real-time problem to solve, to balance the supply and demand and to deal with like renewable intermittency. And the only answer around that is digital solutions. So, the development of a whole like ecosystem of digital solutions around this, I think, is absolutely essential for us to be able to solve that problem.
Very good. Okay. Good. Thank you. Klaus, just building on that, why is now a critical moment for innovation in market design, in technology and commercial models as well?
Yeah, building on what Mahul said earlier is that linear flow from the generator to the consumer does no longer exist. This is due to the increased renewables penetration, which is intermittent, but also decentral. So we have a lot of behind the meter generation. That means that consumers become generators and generators become consumers if they have, for example, flexibility installed on their sites. And then on top of it, also the GHG reporting requirements changes the needs that consumers have and customers have in terms of transparency, in terms of the carbon footprint. So we see a lot more direct corporate PPAs between generators and consumers, which bypass the traded wholesale markets. And all this needs to be implemented in a market design that's I think evolves at different speeds in different markets and facilitates different priorities and different requirements that are specific to local markets. Because I think also when we look back, it's not that before it was one very unified electricity market across the globe. Even in Europe, you had in France a very different fuel mix than in the UK or in Germany, and this needs to be reflected in the new market designs as well to facilitate access to flexibility, incentivize curtailment of renewable generation, and also incentivize consumer demand side response. So this is the critical moment that we have in the innovation. And obviously,
I'm totally sorry. Could you all get closer to your mics, please?
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
And obviously, this also implies with all the decentralized generation, we have a lot more data. Renewables depend on weather data, so the data is also more granular and also more important for market participants to understand. It's not that I can make a trading decision just based on my gut feeling, and the short-term market is much more data-driven.
Okay. And on the traceable supply there, you mentioned the GHG protocol. Rob, from a technology perspective, how are we helping solve that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, one of the challenges here is about the way certificates work, and the customer, our customers are asking for that, being able to actually understand in real time sort of the carbon intensity of their electricity supply, and that's not really supported through the way that certificates are traded at the moment. So what we've done in this particular space is to be able to actually do some real time matching of the vintage of a certificate, when it's actually created and when the electricity supply is being consumed, and actually because we both aggregate for generators and basically provide power to businesses, we've got the ability to bring that together. So the way I think of it is a bit like organic food meets power. You know, people want to know where it comes from, and through our sort of matching process, we can actually provide a data-driven way in which customers know where their power has come from in hourly resolution, and what technology type that's come from as well. So that's a data solution. It's not available as a wholesale market traded product, but we've created that from our portfolio.
Yeah, to solve the problem of annual matching and the reality of intermittent renewables.
And it's the drive for actually having authenticity in terms of renewable. That if you can say is that I know the carbon intensity of my power on an hourly granularity, and know where it's come from. It really does provide a very strong level of credibility about the renewable provenance.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Right, moving on to the next topic of trading algorithms and optimization. So as renewable energy grows and the market is becoming much more volatile, creating challenges and opportunities as well for trading, we're going to explore how algorithms, automation and data-driven optimization can help market participants and help us maximize value while balancing speed, efficiency and the risk associated to all of these activities as well. So to kick us off, Klaus, I'm going to start with you, please. And how is renewable penetration fundamentally changing trading strategies? And then we'll talk a bit about commercial structures as well.
Yep. I mean, fundamentally, trading needs volatility and liquidity. So we always need to find a market where we observe volatility and that is liquid enough to take positions and to trade it. And with renewable increasing more and more in the fuel mix, and the corporate PPAs draining liquidity from the forward market, you find both liquidity and volatility a lot more in the short-term markets. From the as it's weather driven from the weather window, which is roughly 10 days to 14 days maximum, up right until to delivery within day. And so the trading strategies become much more a volatility play on the very short-term markets, which is a lot more weather driven, but also the physical constraints, the interconnector capacity and also the grid capacity on a smaller scale become much more important.
Yeah.
And with all this, you need a lot of data to understand. You need to process a lot of data, which is no longer possible to do that without any help from algorithms or any help from the tools that you need.
And then in terms of trends and what we're seeing in the UK market as an example in terms of negative pricing and capture pricing with renewables, what are we seeing there? What's coming through?
I mean, it's just negative pricing is basically drives volatility.
Yeah.
But we also see with negative pricing that the marginal costs of an asset are no longer relevant. I think this is probably, we don't see that yet in the UK, but for example in the Spanish and the Portuguese markets, we sometimes see capture prices of close to zero in the summer months. So the value of energy is gone without any intervention. And I think what you do in this case is then curtail and ensure that the incentives are there to stabilize the grid. Obviously, that impacts trading decisions.
Yes,
then as well,
and the renewable generators who aren't generating revenues during those periods, and from an investment decision perspective, need to understand what that impact might likely be further down the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good, thank you, Rob. I'm going to come to you next and just want to explore a bit about automation.
Yeah.
Where it genuinely adds value, and where it also needs the strictest guardrails.
Yeah. So the automation, I think, is a quite critical capability in this. I mean, fundamentally, we're going back and looking at sort of the algorithmic way of looking at things and the actual ability to do systematic trading, if I call it that. The guardrails, it's still operating under a trader's license. So it's really important that basically we have the appropriate controls around how those algorithms work.
Yeah. So both with compliance and regulation.
With the compliance and regulation side of things, because it just because it's a machine doing it, it's still subject to all the compliance rules around that. Okay. And then secondly, I think the element that I would pick out with this is that what's the differentiation here as well. So when we've been looking at this, we've got very much an eye about, well, you can go and buy off the peg algorithms for doing activities, but also I think it's really important that actually the competitive edge and differentiation is about actually developing our own custom IP in this particular area, and in terms of actually doing that, the actual how we actually test and validate those models before they actually go into live service is a really important element of that. So it's not just about sort of like one person with a model and just sort of like running that against the market, there's a whole set of controls that need to be in place for that to be there to safely monetize.
And preparation protocols and risk management associated to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, on risk management, Klaus, innovation is great, but how are we going to balance that with the risk management we need in live markets? And you've talked about negative pricing being an important aspect to watch. Where are we going with that?
I mean, but the first aspect is really that if you change the way front office works, if you deploy new trading strategies, obviously the support teams need to adjust as well. So it's a different skill set that's required from a risk team, for example, to be able to understand the risks that are inherent in this new activity, and also from an IT point of view, because we are now dealing a lot more with real-time data. So we need to have real-time monitoring of a position. So when we go back 10, 15 years, there was an end-of-day process, and as long as the limits were fine, end of day, everything was fine. And I think this is something where we need to adapt as a company, and as an industry, to move much more closer to an agile way of working, but also to have it within day monitoring in place. And obviously, negative prices are a nightmare for any model, because usually it breaks any model that you've developed 10 years ago. So this is a challenge in itself.
A new challenge for us.
Yeah.
Mehul, in terms of capabilities that a trading team needs, how much has it moved on from in the last 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's dramatically different now to how it was. I started trading 30 years ago, and the market was very, very, very different then than it is now. Nowadays, there is a very thin line between a trader and a data scientist. All traders are practically quants. And they need to be able to understand the numbers, the volatilities, the mathematics behind it, and understand what the models are telling them and interpret the models. So where we have teams of analysts producing analytical reports, you still need that trader to be able to comprehend, analyze, and make judgment calls on the back of data-driven analysis. And so certainly traders need to be more quantitative, need to be more data-driven, and we need systems and capabilities that support that data-driven decision-making. So one of the drags that hold companies back is the legacy systems that are architected in a way that doesn't allow you to innovate. So, often the leading edge when it comes to developing these capabilities is from the front office itself, building things in-house, and that's really how we need to drive it. And then it goes back to your question about governance control. How do we make sure that these systems are properly tested and validated,
and that enabling scalability, and a more agile way of working. Thank you, Rob. Going to come to you next. And what genuinely brings bespoke solutions and allows us to scale from a sort of system and architecture point of view?
So the way I think about architecture is a bit like it's a bit like a city and a town plan. All right. So if we think about the algorithms as effectively types of apps that run on a particular platform, well, our sort of like angle that we look at is like how do we actually have a technology stack which we can multi-purpose and use for multiple use cases, if you like, again and again and again. So in terms of designing the enterprise architecture about what we're doing in this particular space, is our direction very much is to put in place a strategic technology stack that we will reuse and repurpose again and again and again. And actually that sort of like enables the agility and, the specific development around that. But architecture is really, really important, particularly, Klaus was talking about real-time data. So in technology terms, there's a difference between real-time data and near real-time data from a processing point of view. So, the actual sort of technology architecture, how that links to actually support the trading capabilities is really, really key in terms of developing the right technology solutions.
Okay. And you talk there, Rob, about near real-time data and real-time data. What sort of assets are we looking to connect with and
So we've already done some work in terms of actually getting connecting down to SCADA platforms and be able to stream data from assets in real time.
And assets, generation assets,
and pull down to that. So we're investing in a strategic data platform. Again, that's an example of one of these multi-purpose toolings that we can use again and again. So we can use it for supporting analysis of customer contracts. We can use it supporting like basically trading and market data, and we can use it for actually connecting up to assets and actually streaming that data from the assets and bring that to the traders and the quants. So they can then inform, basically build models around that, and actually using that to actually again support the trading performance.
And Klaus, just final point on this: how is having that asset level data, being connected to wind farms, solar farms, how is that impacting?
Yeah, I mean, that's a requirement, that's a necessity, but it doesn't generate any value in itself, just having access to the data. So you still need to know what to do with the data. And I think there are two aspects to it. One is, of course, you can run machine learning algorithms, you can run anything with AI that delivers something, but when there's still something missing. And I think that's great agility, but the speed of developing models has increased probably from weeks to hours over the last 10 years with all the tools that are available. But you still need someone who understands the fundamentals and who understands how this is all connected. And I think it is a really powerful tool to have all the data available in almost real time or in real time, very granular. You have the tools to develop the AI models, and then you have the people who understand how to build all this together.
Okay,
I think these are the three elements that we need.
Well, this brings us nicely into the third topic around leveraging data and AI in a people powered business. And I'm going to come first and to each on how we leverage AI responsibly in such a critical sector. We've talked a bit about how important AI is, but how do we make sure that we control this in the right way? I'll maybe come to you first, Rob.
Okay, thanks. So, I mean, we actually started with developing an AI acceptable use policy for staff, because it is very much a tool. So the days of technology being the purview, solely for the technology function, they're gone, right? It's about enabling digital skills and digital work right across the organization. So, where we started with this was what you should be doing with AI and maybe what you shouldn't be doing with AI, and actually setting up as an employee policy. So there's some clear guidelines as to what we do around that as a starting point. But I mean, I think what we're also seeing in terms of the regulatory environment, the regulators now appointing and setting regulations as to what AI can and can't be used for as well. So, across the sector from a compliance point of view, there's much more of a, if you like, a holistic approach that needs to be taken about how AI is used responsibly in the organization.
Yeah. Okay. And Klaus, from your perspective, responsible use of AI?
I mean, from a trading point of view, is also, I think, there's a more general aspect of what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do in terms of taking positions, in terms of changing your positions, not making sure that you don't really use data that you shouldn't use in your trading strategies. That depending on the geography, you don't take positions into imbalance, which I think AI can always do that, and it's very easy to run with algorithms. So respect the regulatory constraints, and then obviously also from a risk, from a limit framework point of view, that we make sure that this is all done in a responsible and a sensible way.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think from a senior management point of view, when you're running a team with a portfolio of traders, a portfolio of trading strategies in different jurisdictions and different markets, doing different things, it's vital that we keep control of what AI is being deployed where, and that these tools aren't seen as magic black boxes that churn out P&L.
Yeah.
There needs to be accountability. Every single algorithm, there'll be a trader personally responsible for its profit and loss.
Yeah.
And, they need to make sure they understand the algorithm, they understand how it works, what drives it, what makes it tick.
Yeah. And the risks associated.
And the risks associated with it.
Yeah.
And it's their line, their neck is on the line if that algorithm goes off the rails. And I think it's also really important to distinguish between algorithms that will execute directly into the market and algorithms that give you signals.
Yeah.
Because the level of control that with direct execution is even greater. You need to make sure that you've got systematic controls.
Yeah.
Whereas once I give signals to traders, there is already a human check on that. So only use automatic execution when time is of the essence and it's real time trading that you're doing, like spot. But if you're doing something on the curve, a hedging strategy, and you've got an algorithm to optimize your hedging, if it's not necessary to execute, have that human in between to give it that sense check and make it under control.
Very good. Okay, and in terms of developing a USP, but by the use of AI, what sort of things would trading businesses looking at, Klaus?
AI is not the USP because this is something that can be easily implemented, and also data is not the USP because we're not even dealing with big data in the energy industry, so it's not that challenging to implement it. But what I think is the USP is the use of proprietary data, so something that you cannot buy, but that you've developed as a business, and the people who understand how to use the data, how to connect the data with the algorithms. I think this is the experience that creates a USP to connect the AI insights that you can get with your proprietary data, but also with market fundamentals. And if we look at the short-term market, it's not only algo-driven, it's mainly driven by fundamentals that can feed into an algorithm. Interconnector constraints, for example, are something that is very important, that drives the prices, especially in the UK. So we need to understand that, and we also need to understand the market rules, which is not always that easy to integrate this all together.
But by getting that right, we're developing USP to maximize our position and manage our risk. Thank you. Onto enterprise architecture. So we have mentioned this, but what role does this have to play in innovation?
It's I think the main role it has to play in innovation is about actually enabling agility. So going back down to like the idea of like, is a city in a town plan? If you're looking for scalability, you're looking for agility, you're looking for reliability, looking for recoverability, right? All the ilities, right?
Yeah.
If you're looking for all those things, they only come from actually laying out basically an enterprise architecture plan about how you're going to do that. So if we're going in an environment where we're developing like high performance algorithms that meet the compliance requirements that are available, that we've got an environment where basically we can ensure secure feeds of data on a repeatable, reliable basis, the right data, the right time, to the right quality. That's only going to come through basically planning in the enterprise architecture. So to me, it's the mindset around it is make that investment to actually be able to move faster and to move much more scalably and to be able to be, the first time round using a framework like that is going to take you more time than not doing that. But incrementally, like the marginal cost of then deploying and doing further things on that then becomes much, much better having enterprise architecture in place. So really important. And you can't also get interoperability easily unless you have that laid out as well.
Yeah. Okay. And as part of that, trading companies and suppliers will establish partnerships with tech platforms and a lot of whom are here represented today. How does collaboration in that ecosystem really support this? And what's the focus on transparency and trust within that?
So, I mean, in terms of, there's a few things that come to mind. So, the first thing is that, the technology environment has radically changed over the last 10 to 20 years. So interoperability is effectively enabled, right?
Yeah.
So, us, like many other organizations are using multiple cloud providers and actually stitching that together to provide solution. Okay. So, our dispatching platform might sit in one cloud environment. We use Microsoft Azure, like we have to connect those together.
Yes.
Our CRM platform might be in another one, right?
Yeah.
So constantly we're in an environment where we need to stitch environments and integrate those together, right? A real key challenge around that is basically how we do that securely and how do we actually have trust, because obviously we need to care for our customers' data wherever that is in that interoperable environment as well. So we do take care in terms of making sure that basically secure and reliable connectivity and the ability to integrate services is really important. And again, our enterprise architecture and how we actually integrate things together, it covers that topic because it's so key to us.
Very good, thank you. Okay, final piece then. I just want to get everyone's thoughts, and we might start with you, Mehul, this time, please. Really just to end on what excites you the most about the next phase of the energy innovation.
Well, the thing about energy innovation is it's a continuous journey. So the market's been innovating. You just look at the market, how it looked 20 years ago. You look at it 10 years ago, you look at it now, and you see a real journey. Different landscape. And that journey is going to continue. What we're seeing, though, is we're on the cusp. There are lots of players in the market who are deploying algorithms in this market. We do that too. But we're really on the cusp of actually deploying AI. Up to now, a lot of our algorithms are deterministic, they're formulaic, they have a closed form solution. And we're seeing more and more deployment of open-ended machine learning algorithms that are going to actually potentially be quite a game changer in the market. Other changes are the drivers for innovation is going to be greater integration, changing fuel mix, greater variety of different ways of generating flexibility, right? Demand response, whether it's domestic batteries, whether it's hydro pump storage, or whether it's something really cutting edge like hydrogen. There's all of those things are going to require solutions for optimizing and monetizing.
So it feels like we're at the inflection point where AI can actually add value and can be scaled. Great, thank you. Same question to yourself, Klaus.
Yeah,
excites you.
I think what will be really interesting is the technology innovation. At the moment, everyone is talking about battery and energy storage. But I don't believe that this is the end of innovation, and that we will see new technologies that obviously will have an impact on the market and how we on the market drivers. I think on a more technical level, what we see is at the moment we have data scientists who analyze data, but it's all still mostly deterministic. Combining that with what we did 10 years, 15 years ago, having that stochastic optimization, using these algorithms and combining that with AI, I think this can be really powerful. And the challenge will be in the very short term, you need to get results within seconds, while these models may run for hours. And I think this is something, if we can reach a breakthrough, that will certainly deliver a lot more value.
Yeah, and if we don't, then we'll be behind the curve.
Yep.
Thank you, Klaus.
So for me, I mean, I think it's an incredibly exciting time. So I love technology. I love the energy industry. I might regard myself a little bit of an energy geek. I've always been in it. And actually, we're at this really fantastic point where actually there's convergence going on. So we've been talking about AI, but if you look at the wider picture, there is data centers are driving demand now, like new demand and growth for electricity, as well as us trying to electrify to decarbonize at the same time. Right. The only way of solving this is through the application of technology in real time. Okay, because the days of central command and control of the grid are gone. Right. So I think the opportunity to be able to work in an industry which is so interesting, where the technology, the trends are going to be the same. Batteries are going to get cheaper. They continue to get cheaper. processing power is going to continue to get cheaper. Data storage is going to continue to get cheaper. And, these inflection points, and, the penetration of, say, electrification of transport and electrification of heat, okay, and the ability to coordinate that in real time. I mean, wow, what a rich target, of opportunity, set of opportunities if you want to do digital innovation, and also, it's such an important journey in terms of supporting energy transition as well at the same time. So, really exciting journey, and really exciting future, I think.
Great, thank you. So I think fair to say that innovation is a continuous journey, not the destination. Great, thank you very much, and thanks all three of you for joining me. And that's all we've got time for. Thanks.
Great. Yes, thank you.